The Pakistani way has to be a loud slur. जिसको कहते हैं ना बड़ा बदतमीजी से चाय पी रहा है, एक्चुअली असल जो चाय का जायका होता है, जो फ्लेवर्स होते हैं वो उसी तरह आते हैं.
Our biggest goal is to give the best end cup anywhere in the world.
Why was there a need to go independent?
Roots and nationality. So my passport is still Palestinian. I never got another passport. We still love, cook, eat, drink, and treat each other like a typical Palestinian family. When the word Palestine comes on air, his whole demeanor changes, and you see the teary eyes on the spot.
That's where the heart is. That's where home is.
Of course. Am I there when my sister needs me? Am I there when my mom needs me? Etc. etc. So it kind of prepared me for life because we wanted to do this transformation in less than a 12-month period. The biggest feeling was excitement. Pakistan and this region was the first to launch. We had zero business loss during the transition.
So for a number of people in Pakistan, tea is definitely a matter of passion. They would love, and they would even at times have a fight, have a brawl over the right cup of tea. We were told to stay away from tea. If you have too much tea, you will lose your glowing complexion.
Today, 98% of our tea processing in Kenya is fully sustainable and is net zero. Also with our suppliers and customers, we have a net zero program because we want to make sure that all of our packaging is recyclable. And in Pakistan, we are at 100% recyclable packaging.
Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to another conversation with me, Sidra Iqbal. This one is going to be candid and it will cover one of the most loved brands of the world. And of course, it has a significant impact when it comes to the global tea industry and also Pakistan. I'm talking about Lipton. And of course, Pakistanis are known for their love for tea. A lot can happen over a nice hot cup of tea. We need it the first thing in the morning. We probably also need it the last thing, the wonderful beverage after a long, hard day. So it's important to talk about what really goes behind getting that perfect cup of tea to you. And how does Lipton do it? Today, my guest is someone who's been at the helm of affair when it comes to the customer operations and transformation. There has been a lot brewing at Lipton that we are not aware of, especially the fact that they have gone independent. So let me introduce my guest to you. We have with us Mr. Abdulla Aboughali, who is the Chief of Customer Operations and Transformation. Hi, Abdulla. Thank you for making time for us today.
Hi, Sidra. Thank you so much.
It's
an honor to be with you, and I'm humbled by visiting Pakistan for the first time.
It's a pleasure to have you here, and you've brought in the hot heat
I have.
wave.
I'm sorry, but we have to share. We share everything.
I understand.
Yeah.
But tell me something. This is your first ever visit to Pakistan.
First ever.
First impressions are?
Love it.
You love
the
it?
team have done an amazing job to take me around. They show me around. I haven't breathed for a second, literally, because it's been meeting after meeting, meeting customers, meeting some of our suppliers. We went to the factory, and between Karachi, Lahore, Khanewal, I still have to do Islamabad, but that will be the agenda for my next visit.
What was your impression of the Khanewal factory? I've heard so many good things about it.
And I'm going to be super honest about it. When you speak about packet tea versus tea bags, usually the technologies in tea bags are much more advanced, so you wouldn't expect that a packet tea factory is a state of the art, but this one is. And this is such a big pride for us. This is our biggest factory globally. Yeah, so volume-wise, Khanewal factory is the biggest factory. So it's one of our citadels within the organization to make sure that the Pakistan factory shines and continues to grow as we move forward.
Abdulla, before I delve into the journey of Lipton, which is very fascinating, especially for us Pakistani, because many would argue that tea was traditionally not the drink of choice in this part of the world. And it came with the British, and of course, Thomas Lipton made tea to be a popular beverage all over the world. But tell me about you. I have found out that you have Palestinian roots. Your parents, both your parents?
Roots and nationality. So my passport is still Palestinian. I never got another passport. I was born and raised in Lebanon, but both my parents are Palestinian. The entire family is, very proudly. And However, Dubai has been home for the past 15 years, so I've been there since 2008. But the household remains to be a Palestinian household. We still love, cook, eat, drink, and treat each other like a typical Palestinian family.
Abdullah, we are all immigrants at this point in history.
Yeah.
If I look at my own grandparents, they had to migrate from undivided British India to the newly formulated Pakistan, and it had its own horrors. There were several lives lost. But your father had to move at the tender age of 5 to Lebanon. What are the stories you heard growing up, and what did you notice about him?
There's so many stories, but if I can go quickly through one, it's actually the story of walking to the borders, because of course back then they didn't have access to cars, they didn't have access to even ships, so it was a 7-day walk that him and his younger brother, who was 3 at the time, along with their parents, that had to do. They slept on the street, obviously, because there was no other option. And eventually they reached the port, which allowed them to go to Lebanon. And you can tell up until today, because it never ended, that this is one big hole that stays with my father. And one thing that makes him emotional is the situation in Palestine. So he's a very strong, rigid, typical older generation man, but when the word Palestine comes on air, his whole demeanor changes, and you see the teary eyes on the spot.
Because that's where the heart is, that's where home is.
Of course.
What does Palestine mean to you?
It will always be home. I mean, and as far as I can be, it will always be home. It will always be, again, I think my personality and the way I was raised and the way that my parents made sure that values and the family ties are everything. I mean, we are what we are raised by. So, and I do give credit to the fact that they come from such a resilient place, and that defines who I am today.
A lot of people, unfortunately, see the displaced people and the migrants as merely numbers. We are often quantifying them as number of men, number of women, number of children, number of elderly. I want to know, Abdullah, how did your family rebuild a life? And especially because you have been very, very successful academically as well as professionally. You went to the American University of Beirut. Please tell us how the family put a life together.
I mean, I always say this whenever anyone asks, that older generation is a different breed. You know, they are not like us. We have now become a bunch of spoiled brats, for lack of a better word, but they are the ones who worked hard and made sure that they did everything for us. Now we have become a little bit more selfish, a little bit more self-driven more than anything else. And I can only thank my parents for everything they've done for me, because my dad was the first one in his family who got an education. His brother was number 2. So again, credit to my grandparents for making sure that they get a better life than they did. And I can honestly say every single penny my dad had went on our education. And he compromised on everything for us to go to the best education. And my mom is an angel. Like, my mom is everything. Yeah, everything that we are today, credit to her. And they made sure that we know what we can become and what we can do as we move forward. At that time, all 4 of us went to the best school in Lebanon. It's no longer the best school, but back then it was. And then we went to the American University of Beirut, which back then also was the best university in the region. And we all made it. My brother is head of private banking at BNP Paribas, which is the biggest European bank. My sister is the CFO at Jaguar Land Rover, and I am what I am.
So, Abdullah, was it the hardships that made you more ambitious?
I wouldn't say that, to be very honest. I think as a Palestinian, you're born resilient, without you having to do anything.
It's just
you're
your
born
DNA.
Yeah, exactly. I would give credit again to my parents because they were strict in terms of values, they were strict in terms of upbringing, but they were never academically strict. So it was never about the grades, it was more about what do I bring to the family. So it was always about what's your contribution. And doesn't have to be financial, obviously. It's more about the moral contribution, the mental contribution. Am I there when my sister needs me? Am I there when my mom needs me, et cetera, et cetera. So it kind of prepared me for life and prepared me for the corporate world. Because at the end of the day, academics teach you a lot, but the content of it does not go with you forever. It's more about your preparation for the next steps, preparation for the corporate world, and how you make the most of it.
So Abdullah, how did the tea business happen to you? And I must draw your attention to the cup of tea that we have.
Please.
Have you had it the Pakistani way, by the way?
I've had it always.
Why don't you have it the
from the
Pakistani
south
way?
to the north.
Nini, why don't you try it, this one?
Let me do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Take
Cheers.
a sip. Cheers. Take a sip. Oh, you're not having the Pakistani way. The Pakistani way has to be a loud slurp. Let's try
that. Okay. That's actually how we taste in the lab.
Yes.
So that is the real way of
Let's
doing
do
it.
that.
But
Let's do that for the
Yalla,
camera.
Okay. Close your ears, guys.
This is the ASMR part of our interview today, ladies and gentlemen. How to have tea the Pakistani way. You just mentioned this. That's how you have it in the labs. What does that mean?
That's the only way to taste tea because you have to take as much of the flavors as you can when you slurp. If you just sip, you get more milk than tea.
So the English way of having your pinky up in the air doesn't get you the flavor.
No.
So ladies and gentlemen,
Sir Thomas more than anything.
So that was Sir Thomas. If you want to have it like the English royalty, but if you slurp, just go. If I must digress into Urdu right now, हम जिसको कहते हैं ना बड़ा बदतमीजी से चाय पी रहा है. Actually, असल जो चाय का जायका होता है, जो flavors होते हैं, वो उसी तरह आते हैं. So next time, don't be scared of doing that. So how did you get into the tea business?
Honestly, by chance, to be very honest. So I spent about 13 years in Unilever before. And 12 of the 13 years were in personal care. Only 1 year was in tea, and that was my last role.
Okay.
So I was heading the separation team for tea from Unilever in the Middle East. So that was my first exposure into tea. But tea has always been the number one pride category for Unilever. So when you ask anyone at Unilever, why are you proud of being at Unilever? They will say Lipton. They will say tea, because at the end of the day, it's the only category where we manage from garden to shelf. Because we have the plantations, and then we have our own factories, our own warehouses, our own distribution unit, and then we also manage the sales. So, and that doesn't exist in any other category. There is always a third party somewhere in the way.
So it was a flourishing, brand and business for Unilever for many, many years.
Yes.
Why was there a need to go independent? A lot of people don't realize that it has been a couple of years that Lipton is absolutely independent of Unilever.
Honestly, it made sense for both parties. For Lipton or tea, we needed to put the right focus behind the category and not get shadowed by personal care at all times. But the good news is, 2 years into the separation, we're almost there. So we've already improved margins quite significantly versus when we separated, and that is without any compromise on quality. In fact, we're improving quality, and quality remains to be one of our biggest agendas as we move forward, because our biggest goal is to give the best end cup anywhere in the world.
And you're championing transformation. What did it mean for teams world over? Like you had 100 countries, 100 markets, and when you said that you're going independent, were people scared?
People were scared because of the timeline, more than anything, because we wanted to do this transformation in less than a 12-month period. So we separated officially on July 2022, and we had 12 months to go live with new systems, with new teams, with new organizations, with transferring everything, with new legal entities across the world. But to be honest, I think the biggest feeling was excitement, because not every day as a corporate person you get to experience a transformation of this size in such a short period of time. And at the same time, the business goals that we were gunning after were so ambitious that it gave us the real excitement that we're going after something big. There was never a fear of the unknown. It was more of the how do we make it happen with the least damage possible. And I can easily say this, that Pakistan and this region was the first to launch across the world, and they did such an amazing job that we had zero business loss during the transition, which is unheard of. Yes. Yeah. So we separated on July 22. July 22. But Pakistan needed to go live on April 1st. So 9 months is what they had. Other parts of the world had 12. Pakistan had 9. And we have such an amazing team here that they proved that nothing is impossible.
And there are 3 parts of the business. There's buy, make, and sell.
Yeah.
All 3 are entirely independent now.
Fully
independent.
Yes.
And were there other ideas thrown at the table that maybe we should do as phase-wise? Maybe the timelines are too strict.
So we did 2 waves. Okay. To be very honest. First wave was Pakistan or B-SPAN, which includes Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, plus the US. Mm-hmm. And wave 2 was Europe, Africa, Middle East, and Turkey, and Australasia or APAC region. I think the ambition started with our new owners, CVC Capital Partners, who said we will go live whichever way. Mm-hmm. Yeah? Even if that means that we continue to rectify as we go or continue to do fixes as we go. We want independence. We want complete isolation of processes and ways of working and systems and facilities, I would say, which again, at the same time, coupled with very ambitious targets, made us also want to go independent as soon as possible because we want to go after the targets.
Right.
So it wasn't only about transforming or doing the change. We wanted to go independent so that we go after real targets that can make or break the business.
Was that pushed by the new acquirers? Like, not a lot of people know about CVC. They're Luxembourg-based, and they seem to be, just like a couple of years back, on a buying spree. Yeah. So it wasn't just Lipton. They made a couple of very big acquisitions during that time.
They're one of the biggest private equity firms globally. But this was their first venture into FMCG.
Right.
Yeah, and they are super experienced in terms of how to run a business, and we have learned a lot from them since day one. And yes, I would say that be it both our internal management or our new owners, they wanted complete independence as soon as possible because we wanted to go for ambitious targets.
Has there been, every big organization and brand learns from its risk appetite and from making a few mistakes here and there. If you look back at the Lipton journey, you've been with the tea business and with Lipton for a very long time. Any particular mistake or risk comes to mind that was a great learning or
personal mistake?
No, organizational brand-wise.
Mistake.
Or challenges?
That's a good question. I mean, mistakes, I don't say we've made mistakes. I think the biggest challenge we faced is a mind block more than anything around, did we actually believe that we can go as far as we've gone today? So there was a questioning of the ambition at the beginning of the journey, which made us start a little bit late. But the minute the journey started, I think there was a complete shift in that whole mindset, which allowed us to really go after the numbers we're seeing today. And the best thing about it is it came at zero compromise of our values. Yeah? We want to continue to have the same vision and mission, which is driving value for all. And that goes again from garden to shelf. So be it our farmers, or our partners, or our customers, or our people, and most importantly, our consumers, nothing in my opinion, nothing we have done so far compromised on these values.
So, I mean, looking at some of times when perhaps there was need for course correction, you had to take a different route or some strategy wasn't working, and perhaps there have been pullbacks. Is that easy to do in an organization as big and global as Lipton?
The best thing that we've seen so far is that there is no panic.
Okay.
Yeah, because the biggest mistake that corporations fall into is the fact that the minute one thing goes wrong, there's panic, and they start focusing on the short term and how do we gain low-hanging fruits here and there with losing the plot on the bigger picture. I think so far I can also proudly say that we have not yet lost sight of the bigger picture and the strategy. So there are, of course, changes to the plan, but that plan still falls within the same strategic framework that we started with from day one.
Okay, I'm a big believer, and something that really, really interests me is market insights. And since you are focused on customers and customer relations and operations, but that might primarily mean the distribution network, how to get the tea to the customer. But nonetheless, please tell me, how are the customers evolving in Pakistan and world over? But let's focus on Pakistan for now.
I think consciousness is increasing day by day. Yeah, people are more aware. People are more appreciative of quality, I would say, but are also more conscious of the fact that a TV advertisement is a TV advertisement, and it's not the full story. Let me put it this way, and that applies to both the world and Pakistan, I would say.
Abdulla, are you aware of the very famous jingle / slogan for Lipton in Pakistan? It's like chai chahiye, kaun si janab, and there's like 3 generations, 4 generations. It's a simple banter where if somebody would ask, are you up for a cup of tea? And he's like, yes, of course. And he's like, which one would you care for? And they always turn around and says, it's Lipton, because there's no doubt that it's the best tea. So I'm wondering, the slogan has a lot of power, but does the Gen Alpha and the Gen Z, are they tea inclined? Because I see a lot more coffee coming up recently as well.
Yeah. So there's no denying that the older generation love for tea is much higher. Yeah, but it's on us to give the right mixes and the right innovations within each and every single market to make sure that we're building the same brand love and the same category love as well, because it starts with loving tea before you love Lipton, and then automatically you'll understand that Lipton is the best. So we are already focusing a lot on Gen Z, and we have a digital first agenda, because we do realize that digital is surpassing TV in terms of reach and penetration, especially with the younger generation. Pakistan is a super young population. I think more than 50% is less than 35 years old. So it is a big focus area for us.
And does Gen Z like tea?
They do, but not the conventional way.
Right. Yeah. So what's the unconventional tea type that Gen Z likes?
I mean, I would be very surprised if I see a Gen Z person drinking black tea, for example. That doesn't exist. Yeah, they do want variety, and they get bored much faster. Yeah, so now we have a lot of new trends in the market, like iced tea, like bubble tea, like iced milk tea as well, which is chai latte as well, which is part of the future and part of us grooming the new generation, if I may say, because they are missing out so far, but we'll get them.
And
I'm
what
not worried about
see, I'm an avid traveler, and every time I'm there at the Islamabad airport or the Karachi airport, I see this wonderful little tea stall by Lipton that's handing you over your kind of cup of tea, and it has green tea and infusions as well. How are they doing in Pakistan?
The category is growing. The category is growing significantly, actually, but the core remains to be black tea. And the penetration of green tea especially because of the fact that it's a tea bag. So tea bags penetration in Pakistan is close to 2% only, whereas tea packets is 100%. So literally every household has a tea packet, but only 2% of the households have a tea bag. So start with that, which is a very big market development that we need to do. That's one. And then secondly, the occasions of the day and educating the consumers about at what time of the day they need to drink what is a very big market development agenda as well. Because green tea is best after a meal because it helps with digestion. It has an immense amount of flavonoids and vitamins that allows you to have a healthy afternoon. And some even say that it helps with weight loss.
Abdulla, that's really interesting. So the kind of tea would matter. And of course, being a low-calorie drink is going to make all the difference. So is the green tea market growing in Pakistan?
It is. It is. It's growing significantly. It's growing at almost 50 to 60%. However, again, there is still a long way to go. And it is on, again, big corporations like us to educate the consumer on the health benefits of green tea, to make sure that they're getting the both benefits of black and green tea.
Very recently, a lot of people have delved into a different kind of messaging, and brands have taken it upon themselves to look at the kind of social messages that they are giving out. For example, when it comes to a cup of tea, it was always meant to be or seen to be a woman's job to make a cup of tea. And very recently, you've sort of taken that little bias away, and anybody could make a nice cup of tea. Yeah. Did it have any backlash, or is that too culturally jarring for people?
No, I wouldn't say that. I think, like I said earlier, the consumer is much more conscious, and we are realizing that. And we are also becoming much more conscious about sensitivities within the market related to gender, race, etc. And we want to stay away from any of these conversations, let's say, or publicizing such conversations. And again, tea is a drink for all, and it can be prepared very easily by anyone. And that is the beauty of having multiple formats, be it a sachet or a tea packet or a tea bag, which gives you the options in terms of how lazy or how loyal you are in terms of your preparation.
So you bring with you many years, rather decades of tea experience. I'm going to present to you some of the most strongly held biases and myths by the Pakistani society about tea. Let me give you the first one. People assume that if you have too much tea, you're going to get tanned and you're going to lose your complexion and it will darken up.
Yeah.
What's your response to that?
Good luck with that. I'll try it with you, but good luck.
It doesn't work.
No,
it doesn't work that
not.
way.
No.
We are the entire generation. We were told to stay away from tea. If you have too much tea, you will lose your glowing complexion.
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay. And the other one that we often hear about is that if you have too much tea, it will not let you sleep at night.
Black tea has caffeine. Yeah, there's no denying it. But the caffeine level compared to other caffeine products like coffee or energy drinks or whatever is so low that the impact it has on your sleep is quite minimal. Yeah, so there is no green tea leaf that doesn't have caffeine, but it's very contained and absorbed. Let's say that. I personally don't think that it will affect your sleep. Now, if you're not an avid tea drinker and you have a late cup, it might, but it's a very, very rare case that it would.
Did this market ever surprise you? Because when I look at the South Asians, they love innovation. They would put in saffron, they would put in cardamom, they would put in anything that they would like in their tea. Does that ever, boggle your mind?
It does. But it also we learned the hard way. Let me put it this way. So going back to your initial question, we learned the hard way that you cannot replace people's habits within a ready-made cup. Yeah. So people enjoy the brewing process. People enjoy adding their own flavors. People enjoy it's part of their personality and the personality of the household to have a saffron and a masala and different flavors. And replacing that with a ready-made cup at some point became kind of an insult to them that, who are you to replace my habits? So we did try a lot of these back in the days. And now we have realized that the biggest focus should be on the core black tea and the core green tea, just to give the best cup of tea that we can give to the consumer and let them be with their own habits. Now, this doesn't mean that we will not explore flavors in the future, because in green tea we have multiple flavors. So we have a lemon and honey, we have a fruits range as well. Mango as well.
Mango is my favorite, so I remember that one.
But at the same time, it is about improving the end cup quality. That will always be our mission, because we want the consumer to get the best.
And what about tea bags? I mean, I'm wondering, just as you pointed out, 98% to 100% people prefer loose tea leaves, and that's how we buy it at home. Who were the early adapters to
Gen Z.
Gen Z?
Gen Z.
Not the millennials.
No.
Shame on you, millennials.
No, millennials did their part as well. But I think, again, we are all becoming more active. We're all becoming more on the go. Yeah, and we're running around, etc. And in the office, you want to grab a quick one. You cannot brew for 15, 20 minutes, etc. So the the tea bag industry is about a fast cup of tea with a similar enough quality and taste that allows you not to spend 20 minutes on the stove. Right. It's as simple as that. And millennials did adopt, but we saw the massive surge coming in the last 20 years, I would say, which allowed us to have a dual format strategy, if I may call it. But again, one of the biggest learnings we have in the past few years is that we cannot dictate what the consumer prefers. Yeah. So while we will drive tea bags, because we do believe that there is a certain set of consumers that will prefer this format, it will not come at the expense of tea packets, because the market is a tea packet market. And we will continue, again, just working on the quality and the delivery of the end cup.
So, Abdullah, you take care of the entire globe. I'd like to know, what are some of the unique challenges and opportunities of operating in the Pakistan market? I mean, what makes us different from other markets?
So I think, again, one of the hardships of the tea category, if I may call it, is that, one, we are the biggest player. Yeah? And we do not have a global competitor. We are for size the number 2 player, and we compete with different players in each of the markets. Yeah? But in majority of the markets, you have one player that you compete with. In Pakistan, you have so many, because you're competing with unbranded tea. That's point number 1. Then you compete with other competitors, which I can easily name 3 or 4, like Tapal, Vital, etc. And also you are competing with the tea stalls, because these tea stalls like to prepare their own mixes. They like to prepare their own packaging as well. We were in the market in Karachi a few days ago, and each and every single small store has a packaging machine, which makes it so easy for anyone to compete with us, let's say. So in such a high heritage tea market, tea becomes not only a commodity, but also available for all, be it consumers or producers. And that is such a unique thing for Pakistan and this region, let's say.
And are the customers even aware that sometimes these practices are actually harmful to health as well? Have you ever lab tested one of these homegrown brands and packaging? Is that up to the standard? Is it up to the mark for human consumption?
Tea is a very healthy plant at the end of the day. So because tea is one of the lowest carbon footprint drinks in the world. So again, there is tap water, then tea, then bottled water. So, and tea is 10 times less carbon footprint than bottled water. Wow. So it's a super healthy plant, and making it is super easy in healthy practices, if I may call it. So I wouldn't call anyone doing wrong practices. The only thing is, what I can mention is that we have such high quality practices across the world and such high quality checks in each and every single production batch that we do, that I do believe that the quality of our tea will always stand out as the best.
So how, when you look at, because you just mentioned the sustainability angle of things,
Yeah.
you also have the net zero
We do.
Targets.
We do. That's our
How
biggest
is-
target.
How
So-
is Lipton moving towards it?
So within supply chain, that will always be our biggest target. Yeah, and my role sits within the supply chain community. I think we have already gone such a long way since separation. Today, 98% of our tea processing in Kenya is fully sustainable and is net zero. 5 of our 8 factories globally are carbon neutral. And within Pakistan, our factory is at 65% renewable energy. And I was there yesterday, and it was my first visit. And after what I saw, I think they'll be in a much higher number in the next few months. So there is a very big agenda on net zero. There is very big agenda on being carbon neutral, and it starts with the education. Starts with the education, both internally and externally, to our consumers, to make sure that we are living this journey together. Also, with our suppliers and customers, we have a net zero program, because we want to make sure that all of our packaging is recyclable. And in Pakistan, we are at 100% recyclable packaging. And with our customers, even within distribution, within final palletization within their warehouses, we want to be as net zero as possible.
So for a number of people in Pakistan, tea is definitely a matter of passion. They would love, and they would even at times have a fight, have a brawl over the right cup of tea. But the question is, did you know that there is a tea academy now in Nairobi that is supported by Lipton? And that was fascinating for me. Let me ask you a little bit about that. What is the academy all about?
Yeah, so you started the right way. Tea is passion, and I would add to it, tea is pride. And tea is our pride. And we want all our partners, consumers, and customers to really feel the same set of pride that we do about the fact that tea is one of the healthiest drinks in the world. It can be done in a very, let's say, commercialized way without harming nature and without harming the whole ecosystem. And for that, we have recently partnered with the government of Kenya, with President Ruto, and we have started the first tea academy globally. This is one of the most proudest moments for me personally, and I wasn't part of the project team, but again, when we announced it, it was really proof that we want to take things to the next level in terms of how do we educate the consumer and make sure that the expertise within the tea industry, we owe it to the market as the leading corporate company that we increase the expertise within tea.
Mm-hmm. And when you talk about experts, we definitely have a lot of people who would aspire to be part of the Lipton team. I want to ask for them as well. What are the kind of people you're looking for who can be part of this dynamic team, who can drive the business globally?
I would say that's the biggest difference between Lipton as Lipton and Lipton within Unilever. We want experimenters. We want ambitious people who really want to take things to the next level. We want skilled people. We want people who are looking for depth in expertise and skills. Because again, in the old world, it was multiple categories, so you can always jump from one category to another. Here, it's all about depth. Depth of knowledge, depth of skills, depth of expertise. So it will require people who have the passion for the category, who want to drive sustainability and value for all, but most importantly, want to grow their skill within one of the healthiest categories in the world.
I think this is wonderful, but at the same time, when I look at the advertisements and the communication around tea in general, not just Lipton, I feel they also point us towards how tea can be a catalyst for social acceptance. Yeah. Especially in a country like Pakistan, if you like a girl and if you'd like to introduce her to your family, she needs to make that perfect cup of tea. That's too much pressure. What is your response to that?
As a non-Pakistani, I would agree. Yeah, but again, I mean, tea is a social drink. Yeah, and again, every family has its own passion towards tea. So I don't think it's about pressure on the girl. But I think it's about the personality of that household and the fact that they want to keep the same personality throughout the generations. But it is all about connections. It's all about starting conversations and making sure that you're enjoying your cup of tea. It's the biggest icebreaker in the world. I mean, again, as a proud mommy's boy, let's say, because I love my mother more than anything, I would like to preserve her legacy as much as anything in the world. So if it's about making the perfect cup of tea, I'll do it myself. It's not only about girl or boy. But I think, again, it's all about just making sure that every household continues the same rituals moving forward.
Tell us about some interesting tea facts. Please tell me, how much tea does Lipton sell to Pakistan in a year?
So overall tea category in Pakistan is about 1.3 billion euros. Lipton sells approximately 200 million of that, which gives us around 18% market share. And we are the second biggest player within the industry, but we're growing. Last year, we closed the year at 45% growth. And this year, we have also very strong ambitions to continue the same journey. The main thing, again, is always about increasing distribution, making sure that we're reaching more consumers, making sure that the penetration of the household continues to be at the same high level, and giving them the best cup of tea.
But Abdullah, keeping the last few months, rather the last couple of years in mind, food inflation has been at the highest in Pakistan. That has affected many families, and they have now been making adjustments. Are you seeing a reflection of that in your sales?
So I'll start first by giving the corporate view on inflation. There are two ways to manage inflation. Yeah? The one way is to cut on your quality, or compromise on your blends and compromise on the quality of the product. The second way is to continue with the same quality, albeit at a higher price to the end consumer. Have we seen an impact of inflation coming on the tea category? The answer is yes. However, again, we are in a market where it's 100% penetrated category. Every household needs to have tea. It will never be a question of will I buy tea or not. It will be a question of who am I buying based on the needs of today.
And how do you engage with the young ones? I'm sure that there are a number of sustainability plus CSR initiatives that people have. A lot of big brands are either supportive of the new tech, getting people to be entrepreneurs, or even for that matter, something that rallies, for example, supports a particular sport. What are you putting your weight behind?
So I think our sustainability agenda gets full support even from our new owners, CVC. Yeah? So they have been very clear from day one that we want to be a purpose-driven company, and we want to make sure that in each of the functions and regions, we have a very clear sustainability agenda. So, and it starts with livelihoods and enhancing livelihoods for people around us. So, between our factories, between our sales force, between the people that work for us. In Pakistan, for example, we enhance more than 8,000 livelihoods with the people that we impact within our ecosystem. The main global thinking is that we will continue to act like market leaders and create our own sustainability standards. And hence the Tea Academy that we spoke about earlier, and hence making sure that in every step of the way we continue to enhance the richness of our tea, which starts from the plantations, and also make sure that it gets delivered both from an education perspective and an end cup perspective to our consumers.
You're a global leader, and you're definitely making sure that your strategies are as universal and global as possible. But I want to end this conversation by asking you, how do you feel that this world is going to evolve and look at personal or community identities? I began with your personal journey. You identify as a Palestinian, and you're in a leadership role which has a global scope.
Yeah.
What does identity mean to you?
For me personally, and then I'll go into me as a corporate person. For me personally, identity is the people that I have around me. Yeah? So identity is not a piece of land. Let me put it this way. Identity is the culture that I go by. It's the values that I go by. And have I successfully surrounded myself with the right people around me? That to me is identity. Within the corporate world, identity is purely going to be around what you stand for as a company. Yeah? And there's no denying that every company's number one goal is growth and profit. Yeah? If anyone tells you otherwise, they're lying to you. But as long as it sits within a framework where you're trying to drive value for all, and you're trying to make sure that you're giving back to nature, to the society, to the ecosystem, then I think most of us can sleep with a very clear conscience.
As a transformation expert who's leading a global organization, I do want to ask you that if someone's watching as a young professional who's maybe 5 or 3 years into his work life, what would be your personal tips for personal transformation?
Define what your ambition is, and do not let anyone define the ceiling for you, because that they are just stopping you from fulfilling whatever you're capable to fulfill. Secondly, I think you need to be known for something. You cannot know little bit about everything. You have to be popular for one thing and know a little bit about everything else. And thirdly, make sure that you're surrounded by people that appreciate you, and make sure that you're surrounded by, in a system or a company that has your growth plan as part of its agenda. And if you're not, then you're in the wrong place and time to move on.
Just like when the plant is not flourishing, you don't blame the plant, you actually blame the environment it is in. Thank you so much, Abdulla. It was a pleasure to speak to you.
Same
and, although it's super hot in Pakistan, but we do continue having, copious amounts of tea.
Exactly.
And we absolutely love it. Thank you for all the wonderful
so
work
much.
and cooperation of the Lipton team. And with this, we're going to wrap this conversation up. But please do let me know what have been the aha moments for you. I'm sure there are insights and nuggets of information that you did not know of. And I'll be waiting for your comments and for feedback about them. Until next time, take good care of yourself. Khuda Hafiz.